YouTube, what's good? It's your boy Cozmoe with 5 synth tricks from one of my recent songs, Pray and Hope, which is one of my favorites. Let's dive on in. Let's start with synth number 1. It's going to be the plucks on this song. This is the first pluck we've got. Something I played in with my fingers there. Let's put the effects on. Let's take them back off. So we've got this one-shot pluck from Splice. It says it's tuned to B. So I've tuned it up one semitone to be a C. That way it'll be in tune with Serum and pianos, etc. See, I've automated the cutoff of the low-pass filter, automated the decay to make that moment even pluckier, and the sustain to go down here. Creating some contrast between regular plucks and really quick plucks. Doing some more filtering occasionally. A little bit of volume riding. Saturation up 19 dB, but down 14, so it only gets 5 dB louder. Only bringing that in at this moment. You can see I've dropped the pluck down an octave there. I do a lot of that, up and down octaves, and I wanted the saturation more for that moment because it was lower. Little Valhalla room. Looks like I'm automating the mix a lot. You can see once I get a shape going, I'm going to be duplicating some automation, but changing it. So a lot of movement with the amount of reverb. And then this is something I don't always do, but automated the attack on the transient shaper. I usually add just transient shaper on kicks and snares and fills. Yeah, that one's really plucky. Yeah, it's making a big difference on that one. So it's the combo of, making it really plucky with the ADSR, then hitting it with this transient shaper, and cutting lows at the end there. So that's the main pluck for the beginning of the song. You can see I'm now layering in a sample of a guitar though. Again, automating the same kind of controls. Add them together. Yep, so that's thickening it up. Then later in the song, we get to the main drop section. More plucks here. Looks like I've made a patch in Serum now. Sine, this wave shape. So this patch actually might be a variation of another bass patch. Basically the idea here is to hit the distorted comb filter and this distortion with the envelope or with an LFO. So that's where all the character of the sound is coming from. I definitely learned this from Donkong. They've got a bass patch that they make with, this is probably a variation of that patch. Check out Donkong's tutorials. Also hitting the reverb with that. Here's another group in a group. So this group has OTT on it and some sidechain compression. All right, here's another one shot from Splice. Same kind of effects. This time I'm using Valhalla vintage reverb though. This one's panned a little bit right, and then we've got another guitar panned left, balancing it out. That's going to create the really good natural width when you pan one thing left and pan one thing right, instead of just using the Haas effect. Here's another one. Looks like I've got a dry chain and then a wet chain with Native Instruments Guitar Rig spring reverb. I really like their spring reverb. Same kind of effects. This one's panned a little bit right, so it's a third one. You can see sometimes I'll just automate this activator button to shut off synths. So that does a call with these 3, 4 plucks. Now here's a response. Here we get a flute, sample of a flute, cutting out an annoying frequency. Valhalla Vintage reverb. I like Valhalla Vintage because it's good for the small, like a really quick decay. Then you bring the size down. It's really good at putting something in a small room. Some saturator. So here's that patch I was talking about earlier, that donkong bass that I turned into a lead. You can kind of hear it more on this one. Same patch with the LFO hitting the distorted comb filter and the distortion. Let's hear just that without the flute. I think that is it. Kind of sounds like a flute. Very cool patch. 100% reverb on Valhalla Vintage. Automating the activator button so you don't hear that weird ring at the end. It's kind of like laying a real flute with a synth that sounds like a flute for a big ass flute. You can see I've flattened it. Not exactly sure why I froze and flattened it, but sometimes I'll do that to clean things up. And that does it for our main kind of pluck and main melody section. Let's move on to the next one. All right, synth number 2 is the probability ARP going into a pluck, but this is a free plugin. You think you go to ableton.com, just search for the probability pack, and you can download this Max for Live pack for free. It's cool that it's got these controls for probability, you know, adding randomness to your rate, style, length, and octave, which you can't get off the normal arpeggiator. You could use Max for Live's LFO to add some LFO movement to these, but this is different. It also has a swing slider, which you don't have over here. I wish it doesn't go unsynced. That's the only thing. I wish it could go really fast like this. So let's hear it. It's a lot of context without the drums, but it's adding a lot of quick little blips before the snare drum. I guess it's always different. So let's take off the effects here. So I just copied over the chords that I probably had from my piano. If you look at, you know, just chords here. 2-note chords. I'm always about alternating it. Here we got a perfect fifth, root and third. So I like alternating between roots and fifths and thirds sometimes when I'm doing these 2-note chords, aka dyads. Then I've got Ableton's normal arpeggiator on it first. And that's making it go really fast, automating the rate. Then I've got this one, which is cool because it's only taking some of the notes, filtering out some of the notes, basically. So you get this kind of unpredictable octave style ARP. But I've added some randomness to all these controls here. Kind of getting something different every time. I guess I never froze this. Sometimes I probably did freeze it because when you're going to make a song, you want to freeze it to commit at some point, just so you don't render your wave and get something that sounds bad. So I probably froze it just to make sure it was good, or maybe I cleaned some stuff up. Doesn't look like I had to edit it though. I'm cutting out the lows, automating the mute button to turn it off at points. I guess I have some sidechain from Kickstart on there. And yeah, that's the probability ARP right there. All right, synth trick number 3 is the sidechain gate technique. And so I've got this kick drum. And that's triggering a little blip. And I've got another one too. So check it out. See how this is an exponential groove? I watched Mr. Bill's exponential groove tutorial and got really inspired. And you could watch that too. I'll put a link in the description. You can make these grooves. And I probably, to make this main one, I probably took this first one, came in here and hit Command A to select all the points and stretched it out and warped it. So I think that's how I got to this groove. So I've got like an exponential groove and a slowed down one. And that's, if you check it out over here, you can put a gate on any sound. So here's the sound without it. And then with the gate, it gives it turns it on. Sidechain gate technique. You can play around with the flip button, play around with the threshold. And that's a big part of the sound too, is that that's on my big reverb. You can even use these grooves to, trigger your drum sounds. Another variation of this technique is using the synth pluck that I played. And so instead of just using an exponential groove, actually using a groove that you trigger with your hands. Here you can really hear the sound. So I've got the sidechain gate after shimmer. So I'm singing the word choir.
Just the quiet in my brain.
So I've got a big reverb with shimmer, automating the feedback and the size and that. Then I've got that sidechain gate technique, OTT to really bring out the shimmer, turn off the lows, some sidechain, and then another huge reverb with EOS that I'm automating the mix on that. So a second large reverb in there. So notice here, I'm taking that exponential groove, and one of the cool things that Mr. Bill shows in his tutorial is that you can just drag these out as MIDI files. And you can see I'm actually triggering my serum tracks with the exponential groove for drop 2. So you get that feeling of accelerating, and then I mute it. So I'm a big fan of that technique. Synth trick number 4 is just layer everything in your song. So even my trumpet here, got a low trumpet, octave lower trumpet, a third trumpet or horn sound. So we've got 3 of them together. Layered with a growl sound. This is again that donkong growl, but actually as a bass. That's what's also kind of cool about this song, is that the bass sound is the same sound as that lead we saw earlier. Such a cool sound that you can use it as a bass or a lead. This is the one that has an LFO that hits the distorted comb filter and the sine fold distortion. And it layers well with the trumpet. Then I've just got a sub bass under there for our total bass and horn package there. All right, last synth trick here. We've got a bass. And let's take off the effects here. It's just a pretty simple saw bass. Nothing going on there, but I've got Camel Crusher. This is free if you don't have this. I now have Rift, which is really cool, but this was my go-to distortion for a while. And I guess the trick here is that I'm sidechaining to the kick twice. And that's going to just kind of give you a quicker sound than sidechaining once. So play around with that. And you can see that the release is quicker on the second one than the first one, because the purpose of the second one is just to make a really jagged beginning to the sidechain. Just get out of the way. Learn that trick from Millennium. All right, that does it here. Thanks for tuning in. Check out the track, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Stay tuned. I'll catch y'all later.